never let it go.
Zero force.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect.
Welcome to our film show here on Arts 24, where we're kicking off with one of the most anticipated movies of the year, Ridley Scott's long-awaited sequel to Gladiator. That Oscar-winning Roman epic starring Russell Crowe has now got its second instalment with Irish actor Paul Mescal in the main role. Well, our film critic Emma Jones is here to tell us more. Hi, Emma.
Hello.
My first question is this a continuation of the original Gladiator story?
In a word, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Now, if you were a fan of this 24-year-old original Gladiator, which is surely one of the greatest Hollywood epics ever made,
I agree.
You will know that there was a young aristocratic boy called Lucius left alive at the end of that bloodbath. Now, Lucius is all grown up and he is played by Paul Mescal. His mother, who is played by Connie Nielsen, is the only original cast member to also make it into the sequel. Now, Lucius, though, is a man when the story starts. He isn't anywhere near power, and the story takes a familiar turn. A highborn man becomes a slave who becomes a gladiator.
Okay, well, before we go any further, let's get a glimpse of the film.
I don't fight for power. I fight the free road for men like them.
Your name will be forgotten.
To restore order, I must have power.
Everything is forgotten in time. Empires fall, so do emperors.
This is war. Real war.
The odds are against you.
The odds are always against me.
So even before the embargo was lifted on the official review, some insiders who'd seen it said the film was fantastic. Is it?
What it is a really entertaining spectacle. I feel confident that it's going to give live action cinema its first big hit of 2024, and goodness knows that it needs it. But it is a film that demands to be seen on the big screen. What I feel it's possibly lacking is Russell Crowe's grit and the emotional depth that he brought to the character of Maximus. Now, that is not to say that Paul Mescal isn't really, really watchable in this film, and perhaps the character of Lucius, has a bit more of a sense of humour than Maximus himself. But it has to be said, that we have kind of seen this Gladiator Avenger character and this narrative before.
Okay, well, let's hear more from Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, and Mr. Scott himself about the epic undertaking that is Gladiator II.
This is the biggest film I've been on. It's huge. Cecil B. DeMille on steroids.
This is about survival! Survive!
All of the things that you see in the film, flooding the Colosseum, wild animals, it's recorded that all of these things happened.
It's real. There's nothing like having the real thing.
So as we mentioned, very high bar set by the original. What's your verdict on this one?
It might not be the dramatic masterpiece of the original, but it really does have a huge sense of theatricality and a bigger scale of ancient Rome. Now, a word, Denzel Washington as the ambitious Maximus, he really does steal the show of the movie, in my opinion. That's despite quite a lot of competition between Stranger Things' Joe Quinn and Fred Hershinger, who are playing a grotesque, horribly wigged pair of twin evil emperors. Sadly, I'd say that Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen, a little bit underutilised, but great entertainment.
Oh, maybe this will be then 87-year-old Ridley Scott's final time for an award at the Oscars when the award season rolls around. So let's see. Well, a very different film now, change of tone, a documentary which is called No Other Land. It's made by a collective of Israeli and Palestinian filmmakers. It won the Best Documentary Prize at the Berlinale Film Festival this year. Tell us more about the subject matter here.
Yes, indeed. So this is a film where the main co-directors are Palestinian activist Basil Adra and Israeli journalist Yuval Abraham. And they're friends, and the film is partly about that kind of friendship, but mainly it is eyewitness filming about the Israeli army demolishing Palestinian homes and even schools in parts of the occupied West Bank.
OK, well, let's take a look at No Other Land and hear from its directors, Basil and Yuval, about their motivation for making the film.
Our goal from showing this movie is not just to show this movie and people feel sorry with what's happening. They should act. They should put pressure on their governments to act morally for the international law, for the human rights, and to stop what Israel is doing.
This is what's happening in my village now. Soldiers are everywhere.
بيكون كثير حلو إذا بصير بعدين انتوا بتيجوا تزوروني مش أنا بزوركم ولا لا؟
I have a responsibility for it as an Israeli. I think anybody, who is a citizen of a country has to look at what their country is doing and funding, and if they understand that it's wrong, as I understood quite in an older age. When I grew up, I didn't know anything. I didn't know where the West Bank even was.
I've seen the documentary and it can be quite a tough watch at times. How did you find it, Emma?
Yes, the same. If you're watching it on a purely human level, to see people who are already poverty-stricken having their homes bulldozed and even an elementary school torn down, that is a very, very hard watch. The Israeli army, though, in the documentary say this is perfectly legal because the land is needed for military training. The Palestinians say that they have nowhere else to go, hence the title, No Other Land. So I feel this is a documentary that really crushes the spirit when you are watching it, but it is hard to look away.
Very important viewing. Well, that film's in cinemas around the world, or you can catch our full interview with the directors of No Other Land on our website here on France 24. Well, next on to a big release that may have been a bit overshadowed by the US elections last week. This is called The Substance. It stars Demi Moore. It's directed by French filmmaker Coralie Fargeat, and it won the Best Screenplay Prize at the Cannes Film Festival. It's the story of a presenter who goes to extreme lengths to stay youthful. Let's take a look.
A perfect balance of 7 days each. The one and only thing not to forget. You are one. You can't escape from yourself.
There's been a slight misuse of the substance.
So, Emma, this has been billed as Demi Moore's big comeback. And if we think back to films that she's been in before, Indecent Proposal, Striptease, G.I. Jane, she seems to like controversial material. Is this in keeping with that?
She does, absolutely. And both she and Margaret Qualley, who plays Elizabeth's younger version, Sue, are really outstanding in the film. And although, the film was made by a French director, I think that she really nails the vibe of LA, right down to, the bubblegum colours and also the palm trees, and also Dennis Quaid playing an absolute monster of a TV network executive called Harvey. Now, by now, we are familiar, of course, with body shock horror, if you think, of course, of Julien Colonna's Titan movie. But Coralie Fargeat says that she was really inspired to make this film after turning 40 herself and feeling that society was telling her that her life was over. So I think there's a lot of realistic pressure behind, the subject matter of the film.
Indeed, she is very interested in how the female body is seen in society. Here's more from the filmmaker herself.
The female body is anything but neutral in public spaces, and it deeply influences how we think, our behaviours, and the stereotypes we carry. It's a prison we lock ourselves in.
Now, if you happen to have seen an earlier film by this director, Revenge, of course, a Western, you'll know that she is not afraid of going over the top. So be prepared for that in the last act of The Substance. I'm not personally sure that works, that it lives up to the high standards of the first two acts of the film. However, a great watch. And also, you know, the thing is that it is a heightened social satire. But I do think if the substance was available, there'd be a lot of people willing to try it out.
Oh, wow. Okay, sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Well, finally, to another French film that was at this year's Cannes Film Festival. The Kingdom comes from Corsican-born filmmaker Julien Colonna. This is his first feature film, and for that he's returned to his home island, Corsica. Emma, tell us more about that one.
Yeah, it's a fantastic debut, actually. Story of a father-daughter relationship, and well worth a watch. It is set amongst the Corsican mafia, but it's told entirely from the perspective of a young woman, and that's Lesia. She's played by newcomer Giovanna Benedetti, and her father is a wanted mob boss. So, as you can imagine, she doesn't get to spend that much time with him. Now, the film is set in the summer of 1995. This beautiful island is covered in a dreamy heat haze, and Lesia experiences a coming-of-age time. She has idyllic time with her dad, but also she confronts the reality of what he does for a living and how she may be closer than she thinks, actually, to joining the family firm. The action is sparing for a film of this genre, but when it happens, it is really sudden. And Julien Colonna, he decided to work with a lot of local actors. They were often first-time actors. The results are very, very realistic. And I think that plaudits really have to go to Benedetti and the man who's playing her father, Saverio Santacci, because they haven't acted before in a feature film. Quite extraordinary.
Oh, okay, well, it sounds very promising. Thank you very much for the roundup this week, Emma. We'll leave you with a look at some of that Corsican scenery in Julien Colonna's The Kingdom. Otherwise, we're back next week with more movie news and every day with more culture here on Arts 24.
L'explosion de la voiture piégée qui a fait 4 blessés dont un grave s'est produite peu avant 22 heures dans le centre-ville d'Ajaccio.
C'est pas normal. C'est le début de quelque chose.
C'è un uomo che se ne volta. Non è mica ben fatti proprio.
Prenez la température en ville. Traînez un peu. Prenez des infos et surtout montrez-vous.
Je reste avec toi, je serai dans un coin, je te dérangerai pas.
Arrête! Ce qui se dit et ce que tu vois ici, tu n'en parles à personne. Ni à ton amoureux, ni demain, ni dans 10 ans.
Tu as peur.